Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudire Nashtaprasya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki. Hare Krishna. Text 24. Shrijami tapasai vedam grasami tapasa punaha vibharmi tapasa vishvam viryam metushcharam tapaha.
Hare Krishna. I create this cosmos by such penance, I maintain it by same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potency is penance only.
Brahmovacha Bhagavan Sarva Bhutanam Adhyaksho Vastito Guham Vedahi Apratirutena Prajnanena Chirkirshitam.
Lord Brahma said, O personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the supreme director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence without any hindrance whatsoever.
Tatapi Natha Manasya Nata Nataya Natitam Paravare Yataripe Janiyam Te Diva Arupinaha.
In spite of that, the Lord, I am praying to you to kindly fulfill my desire. May I please be informed how, in spite of your transcendental form, you assume the mundane form, although you have no such form at all.
Yatatma Maya Yogena Nana Shakti Upa Aprihitam Vilumpan Vishirjan Grihanan Vivrad Atmanam Atmana.
And please inform me how you, by your own self, manifest different energies for annihilation, generation, acceptance, and maintenance by combination and permutation.
Kritasi Amaka Sankalpa Urnanabir Yator Nute Tata Tadvishayam Dehi Mani Samai Madhava.
O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible.
Bhagavachikshitam aham karavani hiyatanritaha nehamana prajasha sargam vatyayam yad anugrahat.
Please tell me that I may be taught in the matter of the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may this act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities.
Yavat sakha shakyur iveshate krita praja visharge vivajami bhojanam aviklavaste parikarmani stito mame samunnata madocha maninaha.
O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend. As if equal in position, I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation, but I pray that all these may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Jnanam parama kuyam me Yadvikyanasamanvitam Sarahasyam tad angam cha grihana gaditam maya.
The personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary parapherials for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully.
Yavan aham yata pavo yatrupa guna karmakaha tataiva tatva vijnanam astu te mad anugrahat.
All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy.
Aham eva sameva gre nanyat yat sat asat param paschad aham yadetat cha yuva shisyeta soshmi aham.
Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead.
Riteritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadatmano mayam yata paso yata tamaha.
O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusionary energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness.
Yata mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chas vase chesvi anu pravishtani apravishtani tatate sunate sivi aham.
O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything.
Etavadeva jignasyam tatva jignasunat manaha anvaya vyatirekapiyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada.
A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly.
Etan matam samatishta paramena samadhina bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu navi muhyati karhichit.
O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation.
Shri Shuka Uvacha Sampradisyavyam Ajnano Jananam Parameshtitam Pashyatastasya Tadrupam Atmano Nyanruna Tarihi.
Sukadeva Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities, disappeared.
Antarhitendriyartaya haraye vihitanjalihi sarvabhutamayo vishvam sasarjetam sapurvavat.
On the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma with folded hands began to recreate the universe, full with living entities as it was previously.
Prajapatir Dharmapatir Ekada Niyaman Yaman Bhadram Prajanam Anvichan Atishtat Swartakam Yaya.
Thus, once upon a time, the forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma, situated himself in acts of regulative principles, desiring self interest for the welfare of all living entities.
Tam Naradaha Priyatamo Rikta Danam Anuvrataha Shushru Samanaha Shilena Prashrayena Damena Cha.
Narada, the most dear of the inheritors, sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control.
Mayam Vividishan Vishnur Maheshasya Mahamunihi Mahabhagavato Rajan Pitaram Paryato Shayat.
Narada was very Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king.
Tushtam Nishamya Pitaram Lokanam Prapita Maham Devarshi Paripapracha Pavan Yanmanu Prichati.
The great sage Narada also inquired in detail from his father, Brahma, the great grandfather of all the universe, after seeing him well satisfied.
Tashma idam bhagavatam puranam dashalakshanam praktam bhagavata praha prita putraya bhutakrit.
Thereupon the supplementary Vedic literature Srimad Bhagavatam, which was described by the personality of Godhead and which contains 10 characteristics, was told with satisfaction by the father Brahma to his son Narada.
Narada prahamunaye saraswatyastate nripa dhyayate brahma paramam vyasayamita tejase.
In succession, O king, the great sage, Narada instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati.
Yad utaham tvaya prishto vairajat purusat idam yata shittad upakshyate prashnan anyayamscha Krishna saha. Hare Krishna.
O king, your questions as to how the universe became manifested from the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead, as well as other questions, I shall answer in detail by explanation of the 4 verses already mentioned. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jyotimataji. I'm just going to share the screen. Okay.
Prabhuji, you can share the screen now.
Yep, sure. Thank you so much. Okay, just want to check you can see that, okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, everyone joining in today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today's Srimad Bhagavatam class, my name is Krishna Govinda Das. Please accept my humble obeisances. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I just switch on my camera. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today's verse that we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam is Canto 2, which is Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 9, which is Answers by Citing the Lord's Version, and verses are 28, 29, and 30. So there's quite a few verses I'll be reading. Normally we read the verse, we read the translation, and then the purport, and then we recite the invocation prayers. But I'm going to recite the introduction prayers because there'll be a lot of continuation in the topic. Om Jnana Timandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamaya Tadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagratatam Sagana Lalita Shiva Shikavatam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shiva Shikavatam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gauranye Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravane Pachayane Nirvishesa Sunyavade Pashatana Satayane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome for today's chat class. Did everyone go to London Rath Yatra today? If they
Yes,
could just,
Prabhuji.
oh, good. Perhaps one of you could just give us a quick sentence of your realization today. Anybody? What was the highlight for you then, Usha Mataji? And I think Indra Mataji spoke.
My realization is that although I was running late because of the trains not working properly, but I still managed to get to the Jagannath chariot in time, and I had a beautiful darshan so close by that I felt so blessed. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's really nice. I know it can be
Yes.
very stressful getting out the house, getting the family ready. And there's always an issue with the trains on the pick line. There was issues. I know that for a fact because we went on the train and we were slightly late. But luckily, as you said, Nirmataji, we got darshan of Lord Baladev, Subhadra Maharani, and Lord Jagannath. It was such a beautiful program today, really wonderful. Like the program, the procession gets bigger and longer, longer. The kirtans get more fired up. There's so many kirtans. You felt very spoiled for choice where to go. Jagannath's card, Lady Subhadra Maharani's card, and Baladev's card. But of course, in terms of like spirituality, they all have the same sort of division or divine sort of facility to allow us to connect ourselves to the Supreme Lord in whichever way we can. So I'm so glad you all enjoyed it. And the stage show was so nice as well, with so many wonderful performers, from Bharatanatyam dancers to Kirtaniers to dignitaries speaking as well as very, very, very important legendary singers like Mangalananda Prabhu, known as Michael Cassidy, sang very beautiful songs, which are like English songs, but all have particular meaning or related to Krishna consciousness themes as well. So I'm so glad you enjoyed that. I'd just like to offer my respects and blessings, ask for respects and blessings from our Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, and also to my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Chora Swami. Today happens to be 21st of July. It's actually the tithi of our Guru Maharaj's Tirabhava festival. So I kindly pray to His lotus feet that I may be able to speak something nice, something intelligent on the wonderful glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So The verse that we're going to be reading is 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kridasi Amoga Sankalpa. Uranabhiyatotnute. Tatata Vishayam Dehi. Mani Shamayide Madhava. Translation. O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord, every creative element has its own potencies, known as the potency of the element, potency of knowledge, and the potency of different actions or reactions. By combination of such potencies of the Lord, there is a manifestation of creation, maintenance, and annihilation in due course of time by different agents like Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva destroys. But all such agents and creative energies are emanations from the Lord. And as such, there is nothing except the Lord, or the one supreme source of different diversities. The exact example is the spider and the spider's web. The web is created by the spider, and it is maintained by the spider, and as soon as the spider likes, the whole thing is wound up within the spider. The spider is covered within the web. If an insignificant spider is so powerful to act according to its will, why can't the Supreme Being act by his supreme will in the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmic manifestations? By the grace of the Lord, a devotee like Brahma, or one in his chain of disciplic succession, can understand the Almighty Personality of Godhead eternally engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the region of different energies. So this is a very important verse, as all the verses are, but nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. And it talks about the different potencies of the Lord. Just like somebody has the potency to be very creative, be an artist, but also at the same time, they could be very creative in cooking, they could be creative in perhaps construction, perhaps creative in the professionalism as an engineer or as a doctor. They have so many potencies, but where do these potencies come from? So that creative element, as Prabhupada explains in here in the purport, is known as the potency of the element. And these potencies come from the Supreme Lord. And there's four particular potencies Srila Prabhupada mentions: potency of the element, potency of knowledge, and potency of different actions and reactions. So when you combine all these potencies, you get the manifestation of the creation, the maintenance, and the annihilation. And from your early days of chat during the COVID lockdown, we were reading the Bhagavad Gita about the three modes of material nature, and also about the creation of the universe, the maintenance of the universe, or manifestation, and eventually the annihilation. And although there are particular agencies ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they're represented by Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, but ultimately that energy of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is by the will of the Supreme Lord. Now, it actually mentions that although we have all these creative energies, but we're also conditioned as well. So in our conditional stages, we're actually under the influence of the Gunamayi, as will be explained in the next verse, or is it explained in this verse? I think it's in the next verse. The importance, the difference between the liberated soul and the one who is still conditioned is that the conditioned soul thinks he's the doer of activities, but in actuality, they're carried out by the three modes of material nature. But those three modes of material nature are still governed by the Supreme Personality of God. And even though he may have nothing to do with it, he's independent of it, but by the will of his creation, the way he supplies all his different energies, his different potencies, this manifestation goes through that cycle of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, as we have explained a few times in our previous verses of the chat classes. So Prabhupada actually gives a wonderful example. He explains like the spider is very insignificant. Now, when you think about a spider, it's so beautiful the way it creates this wonderful web, you know, just a little tiny spider, and from the different branches or different constructions, it manages to build this particular web. And how does that potency come from? Where does that intelligence come from? Where does the element of asking the spider to do this activities come from? That is by the super soul residing within the body of that particular spider or any particular living entities. But at the same time, while it's created this web that it could sustain itself, but at the same time, when the spider desires it, it can consume that web within itself. So similarly, he gives that example. The spider, although very insignificant, but the supreme personality of Godhead was beyond any sort of recognition and beyond any sort of considerations or boundaries. He can create millions and millions of universes and then at the same time maintain them and at the same time be the cause of their annihilation as well. Yeah. So here in this case, Lord Brahma, because he's asking this question, "O master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy. Your determination is infallible." So here, Brahma is actually being very surrendered. He realizes his intelligence is so superior, but he's still not feels confident in carrying on in the task of the Supreme Lord. So he doesn't want pride to be the better of him. He actually surrenders himself, just like we mentioned quite a few times. The disciple, his duty is to be inquisitive and inquire from the authority, the spiritual master, and the self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So similarly, Brahma, although he's got his intelligence, he still was to act as a way that he is still surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. And we should do as well. We always think that we are actually doing all the activities ourselves, but actually everything is only possible by the mercy of the spiritual master. Spiritual master, where does he get his blessings and energy and potency from? It comes from directly from Krishna himself. So sometimes it can be easy. I've created this beautiful, you know, or perhaps I dressed the lordships nicely and everybody's complimenting me, but actually we're just instruments. We don't really should, or rather we shouldn't take the credit at all. We should actually just say, by Lord's grace, by my spiritual master's grace. And you find that a lot when you speak to very good surrendered devotees. Oh, how did you manage to do such a big score selling distributed so books? I find it so difficult. And they say, well, just be dependent on Lord Krishna, just pray to him. Everything is possible. You're not the doer, but the Supreme Lord is the doer. So the more you think in that mentality, whatever you do, whether it's cooking for the Lord, doing gardening, doing some administration work, doing some cleaning, I mean, the potencies of services to the Supreme Lord is unlimited. And why is that? Because the Lord is unlimited. So any service that we do is unlimited. But it's only because due to our lack of intelligence, or due to unwanted desires to be fully surrendered, that restricts us from fully going to that potential level of being more creative by actually feeling that we actually have that possibility by the will of the Supreme Lord. If you look at the early days within ISKCON, many of the Prabhupada disciples, they didn't know how to sing, they didn't know how to cook, they didn't know how to run a temple. They were like became sannyasis. One became a sannyasi within 1 year of being initiated. But did they really have the real qualification? No, but they were so fully dedicated to Srila Prabhupada, though they may not fully understand what he was saying, although they may not fully understand the philosophy, though they were still in that transition period from their mature life into a spiritual life, still they had so much unflinching faith for Srila Prabhupada, which is incredible because those same disciples were also instrumental in building and facilitating so many ISKCON temples around the world. But all of them, when you speak to them, they always say, it's only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. I didn't know what to do. Even Ayendra Prabhu, if you read his biography, Prabhupada only spoke to him a few times and he said, you should sing kirtans 24 hours a day in Vrindavan or something along that line. And he took that very seriously. And when Indra Prabhu started singing those kirtans. If you remember, in the mid-90s, it became so popular, those tunes, and all the devotees around the world were listening to it. And then these kirtan malas started popping up everywhere because people were realizing that the spiritual gathering of having a Harinam Kirtan was such a beneficial influence and created an atmosphere that allowed everybody to come and chant together in harmony. In this age of Kali, there's no other way than chanting the holy name of the Lord. Right. Now, just going to the next verse. This is verse 29. Bhagavad Chikshita Maham Karavanihi Anandritaha Nihamam Prajasagam Bhajayam Yad Anugrahat. Translation, please tell me so that I may taught the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities. Also, I just wanted to mention, thank you so much for reciting the Sanskrit today, Panchali, and for English, Jyotiben. Do forgive me, I didn't mention that at the beginning. Sometimes I have a list of things I should prepare to say, but due to my lack of intelligence and a sign of appreciation for this devotees, I forgot to mention that. So thank you very much for lovely recitation earlier on. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Brahmaji does not want to become a speculator dependent on the length of his personal knowledge and conditioned to material bondage. Everyone should know in clear consciousness that one is in the execution of all activities an instrument. A conditioned soul is instrumental in the hands of the external energy, guna maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord. And in the liberated stage, the living entity is instrumental to the will of the personality of Godhead directly. To be instrumental to the direct will of the Lord is the natural constitutional position of the living entity. Whereas to be an instrument in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord is material bondage for the living entity. In that conditioned stage, the living entity speculates on the absolute truth and its different activities. But in the unconditioned stage, the living entity directly receives knowledge from the Lord, and such a liberated soul acts flawlessly, without any speculative habit. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 10 and 11, confirms emphatically that the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the loving transcendental service of the Lord, directly advised by the Lord, so much so that the devotee unwaveringly makes progress on that path home, back to Godhead. Pure devotees of the Lord are therefore not proud of their definitive progress, whereas a non-devotee speculator is in the darkness of illusory energy and is very much proud of his misleading knowledge. Based on speculation without any definitive path, Lord Brahma wanted to be saved from that pitfall of pride, although he was posted in the most exalted position within the universe. So this continues on from the last verse where Lord Brahma is still asking for guidance from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he's been given the authority, he's been given the intelligence, he's still feeling very subordinate. He's still feeling lack of intelligence, and he doesn't want to speculate on anything without getting the approval, the authority of the Supreme Lord. And that is so important because in many situations that we all face in our life, we always want to get that approval from somebody. Sometimes you maybe wanted to develop a spiritual project for the Supreme Lord or even for the devotee community. You take guidance from authorities. You get the blessings of the spiritual master. You get blessings from spiritual authorities. That way, when they give you that authority, when they give you that mercy, that blessing, yes, you go ahead, but also they can advise you, perhaps, no, this isn't the right thing for you to do. Perhaps you could do it in this way. So it's so important that we all take that very seriously in our spiritual life and not bypass the spiritual master. Unfortunately, when Srila Prabhupada was on this planet, even though he was a spiritual master in the early days, many of the young devotees who became very knowledgeable, became very spiritually minded, and then they were very dynamic in different ways. they also had a circle of followers amongst these particular devotees. These were disciples of Prabhupada. And they started wanting to initiate as well while Srila Prabhupada was still around. And unfortunately, Prabhupada felt very sad and very hurt. And even there was a point when you read that particular book, Radha Damodar Vilas, it's about the story of the Radha Damodar bus party in a bus coach converted into a transcendental temple with facilities for people to come in the bus itself, see the altar of their lordships, Shri Radha Damodar, have kirtan, join in with festivities that go from one city to another city. The two devotees who are leading that particular bus party around different parts of America, holding programs, they started saying that Srila Prabhupada was actually God. And because they misunderstood the philosophy, because they saw Prabhupada as very empowered, like a spiritual authority. And on the other hand, there were some disciples who wanted to become spiritual masters. And Prabhupada felt very disturbed and he wanted to leave straight away and go back to Vrindavan. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. And those devotees, they sort of kept a low profile and they realized their mistake. And then they came back when Prabhupada instructed them, no, you shouldn't think like this at all. I am not God, I'm just a servant of God. Maybe you may treat me like God because as it says, is it Shakshat Daridvin, Nasamasa Sastri, Sistata Bhavyate Vasadi, and Shaprashada, Bhagavat Prashada, Shaprashada Nagati Katopi, Vande Gurushi Charanarvindam. So although the spiritual master is an ordinary person to are materialized, but it's actually the eternal servitor of the Lord and is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. So it's so important to understand that relationship. And Brahmaji, similarly, he didn't want to become a spiritual authority. He wanted that advice from Vishnu. Please guide me. Please help me. Please tell me what I should do. Please tell me what I shouldn't do. And we all need that. You may be the most educated person. You may be like the temple president, or you may be the president of America or the prime minister of UK, but still they have advisors telling them what they should do or not do, of how to run a country. So here it mentions about the three potencies, or rather the different potencies. So normally we associate the Supreme Lord in three potencies. It's internal potency, its marginal potency, and its external potency. So the conditioned soul, who we are living in the spiritual world, are in the instrumental hands of the external energy, guna mayi maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord. But in the liberated stage, the living entity is instrumental to the will of the personality of God directly. So I just wanted to ask anybody, I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be confidential. Has anybody had any reflections when they've started changing their mood or servitude of becoming a devotee, becoming more surrendered? Have you noticed any sort of ways where Krishna has guided you in such a positive way? Would anyone like to share their realizations? Anyone? Maybe in your life you had a little difficulty, but you surrendered unto Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Namratavati. Thank you. Yeah. Have you
Madhana
had
Pranam.
any? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. There was a time when it was 6 months were very difficult in my life, where I lost my papa. Following that, I was diagnosed with cancer. Following that month, my father-in-law's cancer had come back, and there were 6 months that were really tough for me and my husband. And I have to say, my faith went more and more onto Krishna. And let's put it that way. I recovered fully, and within 2 weeks I was back at work. Nobody even realized what I've been through. But my point is, what I'm saying, Prabhuji, is that my faith in Krishna grew more and more, and I felt he was. I felt like, when you say that it was the smallest ever operation, and everything
Yes.
was fine, and I was just like, oh my God, I mean, nothing has happened. It's not even a big deal, sort of thing. So I
Yeah.
have to say, I felt like Krishna was supporting me every moment in
Yes.
in those days.
Well, thank you so much. It's very nice of you to share that realization. Does anybody else want to share their realization? It's quite relevant to this verse because it actually says you that when you're actually in that conditional stage, we're under the condition or the guidance of the Gunamayi, modes of mature nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. But when you're surrendered unto Krishna, Krishna directs you by his providence, by his will. Anybody else would like to share anything? Everybody's feeling silent or falling asleep. Certainly fall asleep in my class, I would be surprised. But yes, even
Hare
myself,
Krishna Prabhuji.
Usha
Hare Krishna
Mataji,
Prabhuji.
yes?
Yeah. How are you, Prabhuji?
Yeah, fine. Thank you very much. And yourself?
Nice to meet you today at the Rath Yatra.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, Usha, yes.
yeah. So, I had a problem with my teenage son. You know very well, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that time I had so much difficulty in my life,
Yeah.
but I had full faith in Krishna, and I was just praying to Nashingadev and reading Bhagavatam.
Yes.
That helped me a lot. And I just wanted to say the faith is main. If you have a full faith in God, then
Yes.
I'm sure your problem sometimes there, but Krishna always help us. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Usha Mataji. Yes, I know Ricky when he was a little boy, and it's not easy raising children in a Krishna conscious way because sadly many devotees have raised Krishna conscious children, and they're so wonderful, so beautiful when they used to come for morning program, but the bad association could also take them away.
I'm glad now he's also praying, and he also had Saligram at his house, and so it's just that we have to have faith.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. And even myself, I could certainly vouch when I was going through a lot of difficulties. Praying really helped me. And I know sometimes when you ask devotees, I'm going through this difficulty, and many of us just say, oh, just chant the holy name. But all of us, we have certain desires, certain thoughts, certain elements of difficulties in our life. Chanting doesn't really always help us. But actually, I noticed that the more I chanted, the more sort of free I felt, chanting loudly, chanting with devotion, chanting with clarity, chanting with not purity in my case, but certainly try to develop that level. It really, really helped me. And I think a lot of us, we do all go through difficulties in our life. One day could be finance, another day could be mental health issues, another day could be just social issues, third day could be just practically you don't have a desire to serve or be inclined in spiritual activities because everybody's going on holidays, having a nice time, but who knows what their difficulties they're going through. Within the devotee community, we have so much wonderful devotees that we can support each other and help each other as well. I know the temple is getting bigger and bigger now, so it's not always, how do you call it, always so personal as it used to be. So sometimes you've got to make very dear, like-minded friends and stay close to them who are very confidential in supporting you and helping each other out. So thank you so much to both of you for sharing. I just wanted to quickly share you this screen here. I know there's buttons coming up soon. Okay, I'll just go through this quickly. Basically, I mentioned about the three potencies of the Lord: internal, the marginal potency, and the external potency. Within the three internal potencies, you have now what is Shri Krishna Satchitananda. This Chit Shakti takes three forms: Sandini, when the Swarup Shakti manifests the property Sat, we call it Sandini. Then there's another potency, which is known as Samvit. When the Swarup Shakti conveys knowledge or consciousness, it is expressing itself as Samvit. And three is Haladini. When the Swarup Shakti expresses bliss, call it Haladini. So even sometimes I have confusion in understanding all this, but if you do read more and more into detail about these three potencies, of course, Krishna has unlimited potencies, but these are actually defined as the foremost Chit Shakti that takes place within the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, I mentioned about the conditioned soul earlier on. The conditioned souls, once they speculate, they want to have a desire to make their own sort of concoction on their own translation. I remember once time talking to one person at work, is an Indian guy, and he mentioned that, oh, yes, the Bhagavad Gita is not really true It's just in the mind. It's just words that's allowing you to become a better person, but it's not really something that's actually tangible or that took place as something that somebody spoke about and they made up these verses so you could create a better society. So people have this tendency to speculate and misunderstand, misrepresent the philosophy. That's why you have to go through an authority. And 2 weeks ago, we mentioned about the four different sampradayas that we belong to, which were Brahma, Rudra, Lakshmi, and the four Kumaras, of which we belong to the Brahma Sampradaya. I'm just quickly going to share you one verse, 327. Just for time, I'll just read a translation. The spirit soul, bewildered by the flows of false ego, the three modes of material nature as well, thinks himself the doer of activities that in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So sometimes we tend to think that we're doing certain activities, we're creating this, we're creating that, we're speaking, we're walking, but actually these are actually controlled by the three modes of material nature through the living consciousness within our body. And that living consciousness is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But when we become conditioned, or rather in that conditional stage where we completely surrender to Krishna, where we know that everything, even like the blade of grass, cannot move without the sanctioning of the Supreme Lord, then we actually realize and understand it is only by the Supreme Lord that we're able to do certain activities. I'm going to have to miss a lot of other bits out, unfortunately, because I don't want to keep you too long. And also, I think we have a bhajan later on. So I'll read the next verse quickly. This is verse 30. Yavachaka shakyuve start again. Yavachaka shakyuve shate kritaha praja visarge vibhajami bhojanam aviklavaste parikamani stito mame samunada madhucha maniha. Translation, O my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend as of equal in position. I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation. But I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Brahma is definitely situated in the human friendship with the Lord. Every living entity, every living being is eternally related with the personality of Godhead in one of 5 different transcendental humors, namely Santa, Dasya, Sakya, Vasalya, Madhurya. We have already discussed these 5 kinds of humors in relationship with the personality of Godhead. It is clearly exhibited herein that Lord Brahma is related to the personality of Godhead in the transcendental humor of friendship. Pure devotee may be related with the Lord in any of the transcendental humors, even the humor of parenthood, but the devotee of the Lord is always transcendental servitor. No one is equal to or greater than the Lord. That is the version of the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji, although eternally related with the Lord in the transcendental humor of friendship, although entrusted with the most exalted post of creating different grades of living entities, still conscious of this position, that he is neither the Supreme Lord nor supremely powerful. I just read that bit again. And although entrusted with the most exalted post of creating different grades of living entities, is still conscious of his position, that he is neither the Supreme Lord nor supremely powerful. It is possible that some extremely powerful personality with or without the universe may sometimes show more power than the Lord himself. Still, the pure devotee knows that this power is a vibhuti delegated by the Lord, and such a delegated powerful living entity is never independent. Sri Hanumanji crossed the Indian Ocean by jumping over the sea, and Lord Sri Ramachandra engaged himself in marching over the bridge. But this does not mean that Hanumanji was more powerful than the Lord. Sometimes the Lord gives extraordinary powers to his devotees. But the devotee knows always that the power belongs to the personality of Godhead, and that the devotee is only an instrument. The pure devotee is never puffed up like the non-devotee class of men, who falsely think that they are God. It is astonishing to see how a person who is being kicked by the laws of the Lord's illusory energy at every step can falsely think of becoming one with the Lord. Such thinking is the last layer of illusory energy offered to the conditioned soul. The first illusion is that he wants to become Lord of the material world by accumulating wealth and power. But when he is frustrated in that attempt, he wants to be one with the Lord. So both becoming the most powerful man in the material world and desiring to become one with the Lord are different illusory snares. And because the pure devotee of the Lord, surrendered souls, they are above the illusory snares of Maya. Because Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, even though the first dominated deity in the material world, and therefore able to do many wonderful things, he would never like the non-devotee with a poor fund of knowledge have the audacity to think of becoming one with the Lord. People with a poor fund of knowledge should take lessons from Brahma when they are puffed up with the false notion of becoming God. It's just the last two paragraphs. Factually, Lord Brahma does not create the living entities. That's we mentioned quite a few times. The beginning of the creation, he is empowered to give different bodily shapes to the living entities according to their work during the last millennium. Brahmaji's duty is just to wake the living entity from the slumber to engage them in the proper duty. The different grades of living entities are not created by Brahmaji by his capricious whims, but he is entrusted with the task of giving the living entity different grades of body so that they can work accordingly. Still, he is conscious that he is only instrumental, so that he may not think of himself as the supreme, powerful Lord. Devotees of the Lord are engaged in the specific duty offered by the Lord, and such duties are successfully carried out without hindrance because they are ordained by the Lord. The credit of success goes not to the doer, but to the Lord. But a person with a full fund of knowledge take the credit of success into their own accounts, give nothing to the credit of the Lord. That is a symptom of the non-devotee class of men. Thank you so much for your patience, and please forgive me for any mistakes that I've made. I think this purport was really self-explanatory. Prabhupada is so amazingly beautiful and wonderful in his explanations. So thank you very much, and over to the next wonderful singer, who is Nikhil. He's a Gandharva. Nikhil, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji, to interrupt. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my Dharmat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So yes, Prabhuji, we have Nikhil Prabhuji singing the Jagannashtakam bhajan today. But before he sings, we also have Shavin, dear Shavin, doing the translation. Is that okay, Nikhil Prabhu, if we do the translation first?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Haribol. Thank you, Prabhuji, for singing a beautiful bhajan today on the Rath Yatra day. Haribol. On to
Namrata
you.
Bhattaji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
are you sharing the page at the moment?
Jyoti Mataji.
Oh,
Yes.
Jyoti Bhattaji, can you expand it? Oh, the translation is okay, but when it comes to the verse, if you can expand the verses, yeah?
Yes,
So
Prabhuji.
thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Shavin, when you're ready. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes in great happiness, Lord Jagannatha makes a loud concert with his flute in the groves of the bank of Yamuna. He is like a bumblebee tasting the beautiful lotus-like faces of the cowherd damsels of Raja, and great personalities such as Lakshmi, Siva, Brahma, Indra, and Ganesha worship his lotus feet. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. In his left hand, Lord Jagannatha holds a flute. On his head he wears a peacock feathers, and on his hips he wears fine yellow silken cloth. From the corners of his eyes he bestows sidelong glances upon his loving devotees, and he always reveals himself through his pastimes in his divine abode of Vrindavan. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. On the shore of the great ocean, within a large palace atop the brilliant, golden Nilkala hall, Lord Jagannatha resides with his powerful brother Balabhadra and his sister Subhadra, who sits between them. May that Jagannatha Swami, who bestows the opportunity for devotional service upon all godly souls, be the object of my vision. Lord Jagannatha is an ocean of mercy, and as beautiful as a row of blackish rain clouds. He is a storehouse of bliss for Lami and Saraswati, and his face resembles a spotless full-blown lotus. The best of demigods and sages worship him, and the Upanishads sing his glories. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. When Lord Jagannatha moves along the road from his Rathayatra car, at every step, large assemblies of Brahmins loudly chant, praise and sing songs for his pleasure. Hearing their hymns, Lord Jagannatha becomes very favorably disposed towards them. He is the ocean of mercy and the true friend of all the worlds. May that Jagannatha Swami, along with his consort Lakshmi, who is born from the ocean of nectar, be the object of my vision. Lord Jagannatha, whose eyes resemble the full-blown lotus petals, is the ornament on Lord Brahma's head. He resides on the Nilakala hill with his lotus feet placed on the heads of Anatteva. Overwhelmed by the mellows of love, he joyfully embraces Srimati Radhari's body, which is like a cool pond. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. I do not pray for a kingdom, nor do I pray for gold, rubies, or wealth. I do not ask for a beautiful wife, as desired by all men. I simply pray that Jagannatha Swami, whose glories Lord Shiva always sings, may be constant object of my vision. O Lord of the demigods, please quickly remove this useless material existence I am undergoing. O Lord of the Yadus, please destroy this vast, shoreless ocean of sins. Alas, this certain Lord, Jagannatha, bestows his lotus feet upon those who feel themselves fallen and have no shelter in this world but him. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. The self-retrained virtuous soul who recites these 8 verses glorifying Lord Jagannatha becomes cleansed of his sins and duly predicts the Lord Vishnu's abode.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shabin. That was really
Hare
nice.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jagannatha Swami ki jai. Okay, so thank you. So I'll try to sing this very beautiful bhajan. As it said at the bottom, actually, this is spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, although written by Shankaracharya. So yeah, I thought when I was asked to do a bhajan, I thought there's no better bhajan to do today. So, okay. Kadachit kalindita tavepi na sangita karavo muda bhiri nari vadana kamala svada madhupaha Rama Shambhu Brahma Marapati Ganesha Chitapado Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Bhuje savye venum shirasi shiki picham katitate dukulam netrante sahachara kataksham vidadate Sada Srimad Vrindavanava Satilila Parichayo Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Mahambodestire Kanakaruchire Nila शिखरे वसन् प्रसादान्त सहज बलभद्रेण बलिना सुभद्रा मध्यस्थ सकल सुरसेवा वसरदो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे कृपा पारवार सजल जलद श्रेणिरुचिरो रमावाणि राम स्फुरद मल्लपङ्केरुहमुखः सुरेन्द्रे आराध्य श्रुतिगणशिखा गीतचरितो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे O Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Ratarudo Gachan Pati Milita Bhudeva Patalai Stuti Pradurbhavam Pratipadam Upakarnya Sadayaha Daya Sindhurbandu Sakala Jagatam Sindhu Sutaya Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Parabrahma Pira Kubalaya Dalotfulla Nayano Nivasi Niladro Nihita Charano Nanta Shirasi Rasanando Radha Sarasava Puralingana Sukho Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Navaya Rajam Nachakanakkamanikya Vibhavam Nayacheham ramyam sakala janakamyam varavadhum Sada kale kale pramata pattina gita charito Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Haratvam Samsaram Drutataram Asaram Surapate Haratvam Papanam Vitate Maparam Yadavapate Aho dine nate nihita charano nishchitamidam Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannathashtakam punyam yapatet prayata suchihi sarva papa vishuddhatma Vishnu lokam sagachati. Jagannatha Swami ki jai, Shri Baladev ki jai, Shri Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful thinking, Prabhuji, and wonderful recitations by Shavin. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hi,
Thank
Krishna. Yes, thank you very much. Mikhail Prabhu, and also Shavin was reciting the English translation. Well, thank you everyone for joining in, and hope everyone can join in for the next chat session. Hopefully see you all soon. Today, I forgot to mention, is also the disappearance of Siddhanta Goswami, and also the special day of Guru Purnima. It's a very important day today. This is like celebrating of our eternal spiritual master, Srila Vyasadeva, who is a compiler of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which this whole chat sessions are taking place. Thanks to Srila Vyasadeva, as the literal incarnation of Lord Vishnu, that we are able to grasp and understand the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead being presented by Srila Prabhupada in such a way that less intelligent people like myself could understand, even though I've been trying to read it for many years. I still find it very difficult to understand all the verses. So please bless me that I can read and I can understand more, so I could hopefully give more classes as well. Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a wonderful week ahead. Jai Manchakalpatarubhishya
Kripa
Kripa
Sindhubhya cha Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Namo Namah
Namaha.
Bhagavatam
Hare
Katha
Krishna.
Ki Jai Ki
Jai
Jagannath, the Lord
Ki
Baladev, Lord Subhadra Mahani
Jai
Ki Jai,
Jai
Nitakota Vaishnavinda Ki Jai.
Ki
All glories to the
Jai.
Summer devotees, all glories
All
to the
glories
Summer
to Srila
devotees, all
Prabhu.
glories to the Summer devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada
Srila
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada Ki
Hare
Jai. Thank
Krishna,
you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji, for
Prabhuji.
beautiful
Very nice
lessons.
class.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Hare
Namaste, everyone.
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Krishna.